I'm going to go ahead and try and get everyone checked in. Um, and I'm just going to ask for people who intend on testifying to get checked in now. So as I call your name or your screen, and if you intend on providing testimony here today, if you could give me your full name and who you're representing here today, whether you're a member of the school or the church, the owner, the applicant team for that project, or someone else, a neighboring property owner, or a member of the broader community or some other organization. So I will start with Jen Recker. If you could unmute.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. And who are you representing here today?
St. Mary's School. I'm the principal.
Okay, great. Welcome.
Thank you.
All right. And Ben Yoder.
Thank you, Mr. Sturkey. My name is Ben Yoder. I'm an attorney with Bricker Graydon. I will obviously not be testifying today, but I'm here representing the applicant, the Archdiocese of Cincinnati.
Okay, great. Welcome, Mr. Yoder.
Thank you.
Julia Jackson.
Good morning. I am a parent and outgoing PTO president. I do not intend to testify today, but I'm here in support.
Okay, great. And Eric Schmidt.
Eric Schmidt, Playground Equipment Services, potentially testifying if questions need to be answered about the structure.
Okay, great. We have someone under Chris, named Chris.
Hi, this is Chris Palermo. I am not participating, just listening.
Okay, great, thanks.
Thank you.
Nicole Byerly. You need to unmute, please.
Hi, Nicole Byerly, representative St. Mary's School, and I am going to testify.
Okay, great. It looks like you're on two screens or signed in twice. If you could exit out of one of those, that would be helpful because we're getting some feedback. Okay. I see, Ms. Byerly, you have other folks in the room with you, and I'm going to go ahead and just remove, I'm sorry, this one. Okay. So I see that you have two other people there with you. Will they be participating today at all?
Yes, I have Joe Marty next to me, and he will be presenting. Right. And
could you spell your name, the gentleman there?
You can Joe Grote, Grote. I'm the facilities manager for the three parishes in the East Side region.
Okay, and was that Jim Grote?
Joe.
Joe. Okay. And who else is with you?
My name is Kate Desmond.
Just spell your last name for me.
Desmond.
VES.
MOND. Desmond.
Okay. And I'm having a little bit of trouble hearing you on this account, so I don't know if you prefer this one or the other computer you were on, but just having the microphone doesn't feel as close with this account. So again, if you could just see if you can improve that, and if you want to switch over to the other one, please sign off of this one because we're getting double feedback there. Thanks, everyone. All right, I have someone under Olivia Holbrook.
Hi, good morning. My name is Olivia Holbrook. I'm an attorney with Bricker Graydon. I'm just here with Ben Yoder. I won't be testifying either.
Okay, great. Okay, so we also have Matt Lascheid here from the planning department. Welcome, Matt.
Hey, thanks, David. Good morning, everybody.
Okay, I think that we are ready to start. There's one more person joining us now. Let's see if we can get them checked in quickly. Hi, Kyle Metcalf, are you with us? If so, could you unmute?
Hello.
Mr. Metcalf, are you with us?
Yes, confirming.
Okay, great. And could you tell me confirm that you are Kyle Metcalf, or if I'm mispronouncing that name, and who you're representing here today?
Yes, Kyle Metcalf, St. Mary's School, Hyde Park.
First.
Hey, David, we are fixing our problem real quick. If you can just give us 1 minute.
Sure. I'm gonna try and put you on mute till then. Okay. And I'm sorry. One last time, Kyle Metcalf, and you're with the school here today.
Correct.
Got it. Okay. Great. Thank you. All right. And then there's a room under Kate Desmond. Looks like there's about 6 people in the room there. Are you all participating today at all? Okay. Doesn't appear that anyone in that room can hear me. Does anyone on the screen know if those people?
Yes, I know. This is Jen. That group is the St. Mary. Yeah, there are people that are representing. That's the Nicole Byerly. She asked you just to give her the 1 second to fix it. So they'll be right with you.
Gotcha. Ms. Record, do you know if all of those people will be participating at the hearing today?
I know Beth Mock will be. She's the vice principal. She's speaking because I'm actually at a work conference. So she's speaking on behalf of the school.
Gotcha. Okay.
Along with Mrs. Mock, there will be Missy Lolithan, a parent representative of St. Mary Community, is intending to testify if necessary as well.
Yes.
So is this the only one that's working?
You're only gonna have mics in this one. You're only gonna have audio now on those.
Okay. Are we on here?
Sorry, I just got a message that my connection is a bit unstable. So
David,
I
I'm sorry.
apologize.
I'm going to rejoin Nicole Byerly. Can you let me back in? We shut down the group one.
Yeah, you just need to try to rejoin the meeting, and then I'll get a prompt to let you in. While we're waiting for them to sort out the technical issues over there, I'm going to go ahead and read through our hearing script. This is just going to cover the procedure for the hearing before we get started. So this is the July 10th, 2024 session of the Zoning Hearing Examiner docket. My name is David Sturkey. I'm the Zoning Hearing Examiner for the City of Cincinnati. Again, I'll be presiding over the hearing today. The case before us today is case number ZH20240078. That is 3433 Monteith Avenue. The purpose of this hearing is to allow applicants and any potential opposing parties to testify and to offer and refute evidence and testimony. This hearing will follow the rules found in the zoning code and the supplemental rules of the Zoning Hearing Examiner. All testimony and evidence that an applicant or any potential opposing party wishes to offer must be presented at this hearing. The hearing will proceed as follows. The applicant, the applicant's attorney, or the applicant's agent will first present the applicant's case. Now here, the applicant is represented by an attorney. So Mr. Yoder, I'll allow you to orient your presentation however you would like. You can do a more traditional sort of courtroom style presentation if you would like, where you make opening statements and then direct witnesses with questions. You can make some introductory statements and then turn it over to members of the school and the applicant team to just make statements or give statements on their own. It's really up to you how you want to orient the presentation, but this will be the opportunity to allow anyone from the school or anyone that's here as a client of yours or a witness of yours to provide testimony. I will then move on, and I'm going to just confirm here. I don't believe we have any members of the public that are here that intend on testifying today. Now, if I miss someone there, please speak up and let me know now. But if you're just a general member of the public and intend on testifying, or if we had anyone from the public that joins us, they'll have an opportunity to speak after the applicant has presented its case. I'll hear from the planning department and Mr. Lashai to provide any testimony that he would like. In the event that any party testifies or offers argument in opposition to an application, the applicant will have an opportunity to rebut that testimony or argument that was offered in opposition. And then finally, the applicant will have an opportunity to make any closing statements. After all presentations have been made, I will close the hearing. Decisions may be expected within 2 weeks. I may limit or exclude any testimony that I deem irrelevant or outside the scope of the application being considered. I may interrupt any speaker to ask questions or to make any comments. In the event of any technical difficulties, which we've already sort of seen a little bit here, I'll do my best to try to work through those and troubleshoot those issues on the fly. But to the extent there's some defect with the tech that prevents us from meaningfully going forward with this hearing, I may continue or postpone the hearing at my discretion. Okay, the last thing I need to do is swear in our witnesses. But before I do that, let me go back to the folks that have multiple people on camera, see how we're doing with those issues. So, sorry, was it with the screen with Brent Richard? Are you with us?
Hi, this is Kate Desmond. We are, Nicole needs to be let back into the meeting.
Yeah, you have to ask to get back in.
She did. Or she's trying to.
Yeah, I haven't gotten any notification on my end that she has made that attempt yet.
Okay.
So I would say keep trying or try again.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
So turn the speaker off of that, please. You just wait to be done first place. Okay, go ahead.
You guys hear me?
I can hear the three individuals at the table there.
Right.
Okay. So I assume that there are folks on the other side of the room in there, the 6 individuals at the table that are across from you. Is that right? Okay. All right. Great. So anyone that's going to be testifying today, I need their name and whatever their position or who they're representing is at the school. So is anyone from the 6 people there going to be testifying? And if so, what are their names?
I'm also there. I'm the vice principal.
Okay. So if you could turn the camera back the other way, I'm going to suggest something. The microphone and the camera angle right now, I think, is going to be optimal for anyone that's inside that room, that gymnasium, to testify. So I'll ask anyone who's going to testify as they come up to sit in one of those seats and provide their testimony from that seat. And I'll get everyone's name at that time. So, and I'm going to have to just go ahead and one by one swear everyone in for this particular hearing. So at this point, I'm not going to swear anyone in. Mr. Yoder, you do not need to be sworn as an attorney. And so I'm going to turn it over to you. The floor is yours. Please, if you're ready, go ahead and proceed.
I am, and thank you very much for your time. Always fun to do hearings via Zoom. Appreciate your working with us to accommodate all of our varying people participating all over the place.
No problem.
With that said, again, I'm Ben Yoder. I'm the attorney representing the Archdiocese of Cincinnati on this. We've got a copy of the staff report that was given to us in advance of this. I presume, Mr. Sturkey, you're familiar with it. With that said, I can just keep my comments brief to thank you for hearing us. Legitimately, sincerely thank Mr. Lescheid in particular for working with us and putting together the staff report on that. Obviously, this is a hearing for a conditional use expansion in a rear yard setback variance request for an ADA compliant playground. The staff report really does cover everything. We agree, frankly, with everything that's in it. We agree with our compliance with the standards, and we agree to the condition that the I think it's really the law department that frankly came up with the standard that they wanted to put on a restrictive covenant linking the property together. We're completely fine with that as well. So I'll keep my comments brief to thank Mr. Lescheid. So we agree with everything in the staff report. And instead, I'll just go ahead and introduce the 3 witnesses that we intend to present testimony. The first one is Deacon Joseph Grody. You had heard from him before. He's the regional director of facilities for the Archdiocese of Cincinnati. He's going to briefly tell you about his role with the church's connection to the property, and then the kind of history of the property, specifically at 3433 Monteith, how it used to be a home, how it was torn down, and go from there. After that, we're going to have Nicole Byerly testify. She's a school and community representative who really kind of get into the background of identification of the need for the new playground, previous steps that they had taken in an attempt to pursue the playground, what they did to fix that after they received a stop work order, engaging me as their attorney, and how we've gone to rectify the situation to really put forth what we think is a really good application, a really good proposed plan that will do a lot of really good things for not only the school, but also the community. That'll have a great playground that's well buffered from everyone else. And then lastly, we'll have Eric Schmidt testify as well. Eric's the owner of Playground Equipment Services, so he can kind of get into the nitty gritty, if you will, specifically of, okay, what are the components of the playground? What is the artificial turf, things of that nature. So those are the only three actual witnesses that we intend to have testify. We did offer to have, public comment in favor of the application presented by whomever affiliated with the school would like to do that. So I think you've heard some of those principal, assistant principals, folks in the audience that are there that I think will want to kind of ad lib, speak on their own in favor of the application as well. So with that said, I'll go ahead and just have Mr. Grody go ahead and start. And if you could just tell Mr. Sturkey a bit about your role with the Archdiocese, with the school, give an overview of the school. I've got a PowerPoint presentation, if you'd allow me to share screen, Mr. Sturkey.
Sure. Before you do that, if Mr. Grody, if you could just raise your right hand, I need to swear you in. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you shall provide will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, great. All right. Mr. Yoder, you can share.
Great, thank you.
So I'm the facilities manager of the Eastside family. I helped design and build the installation of our playground at St. Cecilia 3 years ago. The property we're speaking about here at St. Mary's, the parish actually bought in 2015 and subsequently tore the building down in the same year. That green area has been used as a playground with a gaga pit or for football or soccer ever since by the kids, not only from St. Mary's, but from the neighborhood. Recently, the Board of Health has recommended that our current playground really no longer meets the standard that they want us to have. So it's even more important for us to replace that playground. We will have signs on the playground that says it's open from dawn until dusk, which will allow the residents of the community to enjoy it as well. We aren't going to be replacing we're going to replace the current lighting with 3 ground lights. There'll be no lights shining in any direction towards houses or towards the street. And we also will have cameras installed on a couple of buildings surrounding the playground, which are a result of a grant that we received from the state for safety. We'll also have a garbage can placed in the front of the structure, and we'll have benches as well, so people, if they bring their children, can sit there and read or be on a computer while their kids are playing on the playground.
Mr. Grody, can you speak a little bit more just to the history of this specific property, orient Mr. Sturkey to, that screen about where this playground is in relation to what's around it and with the school, all those kind of things?
If you can see where it says Shady Lane, and as I'm looking at it, to the left is the church with the tile roof, and then to the left of that is the school. You can see there's been a couple additions to the school over the years. And then if you go to the other side of Shady Lane, you see our rectory, which is the tile roof building on the front of Erie and Shady Lane. Directly behind there is what we call the Seton Center, which was a former convent, which is now a conglomeration of offices and school use. And then to the right of that is a existing parking lot that was put there years ago. There used to be a house there as well. And so the area you see that's highlighted in blue is where the proposed playground will be. And then to the north of that on Monteith is also a property that the parish owns. And we're actually hoping to make that a convent in the not too distant future. We totally remodeled it, and so it's ready to go for a convent.
Thank you. So the block that the playground's located on, just to explicitly state it, can you state which properties the Archdiocese does and doesn't own? Just so it's clear.
Sure, we do not own, is that 2845 Erie and 2861 Erie, we do own. So that's the area.
So I think
if you
least
could,
on
if you
my
could
screen.
put your cursor over the properties that he's talking
Oh,
about.
perfect. I didn't know that people could see it. I believe, Mr. Grody, if I'm correct, you don't own this property, 2863 Erie?
We do own that property.
Oh, do you? My
Yes.
apologies then. Is this the only one that you don't own?
That's correct.
So you own the entirety of this block minus that one
That's correct.
property?
That's
Okay.
correct.
Thank you. That's the only questions I have for Mr. Grody. Would you like me to proceed, Mr. Sturkey, with Mr. Byerly's testimony?
Yes.
Okay.
And before you do that, though, I'll need to swear her in. So if you could stop sharing just for a minute.
Hi,
Okay. All right. And again, your name is, what is your first name? I'm sorry.
Nicole.
Nicole Byerly. Got it. And could you raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you shall give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thanks for taking the time. Everybody that's here today, we all have one goal to get one good playground for the children of St. Mary. So I appreciate everybody's time today. Just to set the tone of who we are, I've been a part of the St. Mary community for 7 years. In that short time, we have been through a lot together as a community. Family situations, house fires, we've even been through death together. It's a very strong community. Seeing how strong and quickly this community rallies to help is astonishing. I'm proud to say that I've served in many different volunteer roles at St. Mary, from the PTO president, cheer coach, festival, and gala committees, to even just passing out popsicles around here. Definitely have worn a few hats along with the people in this room. It's important just to set the tone of, who we are and how much this means to our whole community here. So it's going to be my job to speak for everybody, which is, for the past 2 years, this has been nothing but blood, sweat, and tears to try to get this done. But one of our biggest and proudest moments through fundraising has been for a new playground. And ever since our family became involved in the community, there's been chatter of upgrading it because it's outdated. It's not ADA accessible. It's located, as you see, in our with parking lots around it, a hazard noted by the health department. And unfortunately, too many parents have been in the emergency room with, broken bones because of the old system. When some PTO volunteers learned that a student would join our school with a disability, making his only access around campus via a wheelchair, that really ignited the fire for the need for now. His name is Ben, and he is the sweetest boy, and his mother is here with us today. A small group of parents, we refer to ourselves as the playground committee, we rallied, we started designating all of our time and energy into the dream of what we call the Playground Project. We surveyed our community with this idea and this dream, and there was an overwhelming show of support, not only by the parents, but by the students alike. Our 8th grade graduating class of 2021 and 2022 used the rest of their school year funds to be the first official playground donors. That was from the students. Once we realized we had the community support in spirit and financially, we engaged in professional services with Playground Equipment Services, Eric Schmidt, who's on this call today. He is a certified playground maintenance instructor. He helped us design the ADA accessible play structure, which is manufactured by Miracle Recreation, to be installed by PES's staff to meet all the safety and performance standards. I'll let Eric introduce himself shortly, but the reason that I mentioned all the safety standards is because we were very thorough in choosing who we wanted to work with on this project, as it's serving our family, all of our families. PES will be our installer for the playground system, and our fence will be a 4-foot commercial grade aluminum fence that will go around it. It's important to note, as Joe did, that the children of St. Mary were already using this land for recess time. They had a gaga pit, they played soccer, they played football. And many a times those balls are going out onto Monteith Avenue. But now that it will be fully fenced, that should eliminate some of the, some of the balls going out into the street, and ultimately the children will not be going out in the street.
Ms. Byerly, just a quick question on that. You're saying the space is already reserved by the school for playground use or for recreational use by kids,
Yes, like they're
by
playing
students?
during recess, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, they've been playing on it, since it's a vacant piece of land, they go on there, yes, during recess time, it's definitely used for them to play.
Thank you.
Okay, so the fence installation is important. We've got that. The fence line will not have any adverse effect on the parking lot. I think that was noted that somebody was afraid that the parking spots would be affected by the fence, but that's not going to be the case. There are parking bumpers in place, so all of that will be up to speed. As a part of our commitment, not only to our school, but to our larger community, the space will be open and available for neighborhood use from dawn to dusk, as Joe said, and a sign will be posted on the fence listing these hours. Another feature that we chose was to turf the entire area with synthetic turf, as opposed to rubber mulch or chips. I'll refer back to Ben, and any child that may have come to play on our playground that isn't able to walk or is crawling, the turf will make it the best possible play experience on that playground. The turf that we chose was Sinlock and Virolock, which has a built-in backing drainage system. And Sinlon products go under the ASTM water permeability test, which shows that the turf will drain. I mean, these are just some stats. This turf will drain in excess of 1,200 inches per hour, which is 40 times greater than the highest record rainfall at one time in the U.S. Any water will drain at a greater rate after installation than prior, as it will permeate through the turf, gravel, and soak into the soil below. Prior to this piece of land had 6 inches of clay before reaching the soil. While the clay is porous, it's not permeable. So by removing the clay and adding a permeable surface, our drainage system for this area will increase. We have contracted to work with Buckeye Greens on excavation and turf installation. Buckeye Greens will also be installing all proper fall pads to meet the safety standards with PES and Miracle Recreation that will go underneath the playground system. Once the vendors were established, the plan was in place, we worked on completing our fundraising goal. In order to seek approval from the Archdiocese, all funds had to be collected up front, and we did it. We had donors from our school families, our parish families, grandparents, foundations, and businesses in the neighborhood. While fundraising during that time, we did communicate with the Hyde Park Neighborhood Council, the president, whose term has ended before we started construction on the playground, but they were excited to learn of a new playground in the neighborhood. Fast forward through the fundraising and the production of our play structure, we're ready to install. Excavation started and everything was in working order on Monday, March 18th. By Friday, March 22nd, there was a stop work order placed on the play structure. On Monday, March 25th, we were given the green light from the city to begin construction again. And we did so. But by March 27th, a second stop work order was placed. And at that time, we paused construction and we engaged in legal counsel, Mr. Yoder. We revised our plans and the structure placement to place it as far back as possible from Monteith to eliminate any adverse effects on the immediate neighborhood. We also met again with Hyde Park Neighborhood Council in May to get their input. We reached back out to them with revised plans and delivered them to the president and the zoning chair. And some of the folks here today met with them last night as well. And I believe that you received an email from them this morning. I will go ahead and turn it over to Eric so that he can tell you about the playground structure, unless you have something else.
I don't have any other questions at this time. Thanks.
One quick question, if you could follow up on Ms. Byerly, is what about the trees that are there now and what kind of landscape buffering will we use?
The trees that are there now will stay in place. I don't know what type of trees those are.
Yeah. It's a combination.
Yeah, a combination of trees. They're quite tall. They're as tall as the play structure, aren't they?
Easily.
Yeah, they're tall. They're not gonna be removed, so all of that will stay in place. That will be as is.
Thank you. And Mr. Starkey, I think the trees she's referring to are shown on page 2 of the staff report from the street view from Monteith, so you can kind of get a feel. Whatever you see in that picture is going to remain there afterwards. Is that correct, Ms. Byerly?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I think that covers all of it really well, Ms. Byerly. I appreciate you for your testimony and your hard work on this project today. Next up will be Mr. Schmidt. Mr. Starkey, if you'd like to swear him in.
Sure. Mr. Schmidt, if you could raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you shall give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Schmidt. Could you just go over your background a little bit, who you work for, what your role is there, and then just go ahead and tell us about the playground.
Okay, my name is Eric Schmidt. I'm the CEO of Playground Equipment Services. We've been designing and installing playgrounds for over 25 years across the country. We are the dealer's representative for Miracle Playground Equipment in Ohio. Miracle Playground Equipment is the oldest and largest playground manufacturer in the United States, manufactured in Manette, Missouri. Been on many of the R&D products, R&D processes for new products for Miracle. Personally, I have, in collaboration with Dr. Stanton, just published our 18th academic journal on early childhood development, childhood play, and special needs play for children for the developmental process. So a lot of really good information we were able to gather on how to do this correctly. So the playground that we're installing for the school is an ADA accessible playground, and not only just a particular ramp and rail type of playground, but there's many other opportunities for a child that is in a mobility device to navigate around the structure, on the structure, and you create peer play, build peer-to-peer relationships. And this particular structure is designed for a school. So there are plenty of opportunities for typically developing children. There are also opportunities for children that have physical disabilities. So that
Mr.
is.
Schmidt, can I interrupt you really quick?
Yes, sir.
Can you see the slide? Just wanting to make sure.
Yes. Yes.
Can you walk Mr. Starkey through that? Just, obviously there's going to be a future slide that's in there, this one as well, that I want you to talk about. But first, can you just kind of orient him to the property and the setbacks and why we did what we did and what those different blobs on there are?
Yes, the structure where the 3.545 is at, that is actually an ADA accessible ramp that gets you onto a 2-foot deck, and that also has an ADA accessible ramp that gets you onto a 4-foot deck. On those decks are sensory panels, and those sensory panels were designed to be visual and tactile sensory for kiddos. They test through the roof on working for what they were designed for. They work very well for kiddos that are on the autism spectrum. They're also good learning tools for the elementary school teachers because of the shapes, the colors, and the designs on them. You can, and for early childhood development, it helps shape with colors and shapes and textures.
So here's a ramp. You go up here and you can come over here as well. And these are the two areas that you're talking about with the interactive areas for children with disabilities. Correct.
With children in mobility devices, yes. So there's also, between the two structures, there is an inclusive world that a child with a mobility device can walk directly onto at ground level and participate with their peers and engage in play too. And that is, mostly vestibular stimulation for the kiddos to help them. What we like to do, especially for school playgrounds, is the number one priority is the kids' education. Well, through the developmental process, one of the things that we need to do is these kids need to take a break, need to get a recess. We call it in the industry getting the wiggles out, get them back in the classroom, and get them learning. This playground, through years and years of research, is designed to do just that, but also be accessible for children with mobility devices. Now, the demographic of the children in the school is going to change every year. What this allows is for, as that demographic changes, it is going to create the best opportunity for all children, regardless of their abilities or disabilities, to be able to participate.
What is this area here, Mr. Schmidt?
That is the inclusive world. That is
Okay, that's what you were talking about.
That's the ground level spinner that, you know, actually that's one of the ones we were on the R&D team with. They just started coming out 4 years ago. Incredibly popular, incredibly beneficial. There, I think in the city of Cincinnati, we've placed almost a dozen of them throughout City Park, CRC, and Park Board playgrounds. They're incredibly popular, well liked.
And then just to speed you along a little bit, what is this area over here?
That is a climbing structure that is, it is for more typically developing children as far as strength and motor abilities. But what it also does is it creates an environment to help build peer relationships. So peer-to-peer play, peer-to-peer discussions. So it's a gathering place and a climber for the kiddos to be able to get on and interact.
So that's what that's showing in this picture here.
Correct.
Okay, great. And then just to close the loop on this slide as well. So these represent setbacks from the parcel lines or the property line. Is that correct?
Correct. That most importantly than the setbacks is every setback allows for the ASTM guidelines for minimum use zones around the structure and the equipment.
Okay. And then the setbacks are from the property lines, and obviously the school owns the property on all three sides of it, other than obviously Monteith and the other side of the block. Is that correct?
I believe so.
Okay. And then is there anything more you wanted to cover? Maybe I should have pulled this slide up earlier when we were talking about it, but I guess these are all the different things you were talking about.
Mr. Yoder, I'd actually too like to hear, and I apologize if I missed this, but some of the dimensions of the actual equipment. Has that been shared yet?
I don't believe it has, but could you, Mr. Schmidt?
So height, I mean, I heard a reference to it being as tall as a tree earlier. If I could have some actual dimensions and dimensions of the total space, which I think might be in the application materials, but if we could get that on the record here, how big it is, where the fencing will be located, that sort of thing. Thank you.
I believe the layout was, we did provide a layout. I'm not sure if it made it into the record or not, but we did provide a layout. The tallest structure here would be the center pole of that climbing net, and that's 13 feet.
And then how tall is this at its peak?
I think to the top of the peak, it's 12.
Okay. So 13 at max height, 12 over here.
And that's at the peak.
And then this is ground level.
Yeah, the highest deck is 4 feet high. And that would be to the double base slide. The two hexagon decks are 2 feet and 4 feet.
Great. And then are you able to speak to the fencing as well, or is that questions we should go back to Miss Byerly for?
Miss Byerly probably be best to answer those questions.
Okay. Are there other questions you had, Mr. Sturkey, before we proceed?
I don't think so. No, I mean,
okay.
I don't think so at this time.
Okay.
I am at some point, just for your reference. I'm not sure if you had an opportunity. Miss Byerly mentioned that the email from the Hyde Park Neighborhood Council. They had mentioned several concerns that they had with this. So if any time anyone would like to try to directly address any of those concerns, I believe that that would be helpful. If you don't have that letter, I'm happy to read it into the record, but it is going to be, the document itself is going to be a part of the record. So I'll skip it if you all have already read that letter.
Yeah, we do have it. And I think that probably Miss Byerly could speak both about the fencing part, and then Miss Byerly, maybe you can talk about also the meeting last night a bit, and the concerns that were raised and the answers that were provided as it relates to those concerns.
I sure can. The fence, just so we can cover that, the fence is, again, it's 4 feet. It's commercial grade, black aluminum. It is gonna be fenced, all around that whole property. There will be an opening on the side, Mr. Yoder, if you can go, yeah, facing the school. So Monteith is completely closed, along the parking lot is completely closed, and along the side of the house is closed. But yes, this piece right there is gonna be a little opening so that we can get into the playground there from the school side. So that's the only way to access it is from the school side. So that's the fence. And then the Hyde Park Neighborhood Council, when we first started this project, or, you know, when we started thinking about it, we did reach out to them, February of 2023. And we reached out to the president, and I'm not sure what the woman's title was at the time, but the president and somebody else at council. And at the time, they said, you know, it was great to hear. I think I have it. Hang on 1 second. Thank you for your emails. My apology for the delay. It's always exciting to learn of new efforts to update playgrounds at our schools. And then based on what we had said about the, you know, the new playground, he didn't see any reason for us to attend a meeting at that point. And then if we needed anything else, we could reach back out to them. So in our mind, we didn't need anything else since they were excited to learn about the project. And then once we had the stop work orders that came up, we realized that some of the complaints from the neighbors went through the Hyde Park Neighborhood Council. So we reached back out to the Hyde Park Neighborhood Council, and we met with them again in May. And we kind of had an informal meeting. It wasn't at one of their official meetings, because we wanted to say, here's what we have, you know, help us. What do you need? What would you like to see? Things of that nature. Kind of give us your opinion on things. And we are going to go through all the steps and all the proper channels to make sure that everything is done correctly. And then, you know, that's where we were with that. So we had reached out with them then. And then after that, we went back to Mr. Yoder and the whole process with the, you know, the city and the application and making sure everything was correct and done the right way. And once we received the full report back from the staff, we shared that with the Hyde Park Neighborhood Council. And then they asked that we share it with the neighbors. And Mr. Grody did that. And then I had happened to look at the agenda yesterday morning for their monthly meeting yesterday. And I realized that St. Mary's Playground was on it. So we shifted some schedules, and Kate Desmond and Deacon Joe Grody made it to the meeting last night. Let me back up to that really quick, because I think in the email that they sent to you, they listed that we did not attend a July 2nd meeting. When we reached back out to them at the end of June with the updated plans for the playground, we hadn't heard anything. And so then the next week was July 4th week. There was a phone call that was made between the Hyde Park Neighborhood Council President Tommy McAvoy and Kate Desmond, and he stated that there would be a meeting that night, and that if we were invited, we would get an email. And we never got the email, so we reached back out. We didn't know where that July 2nd meeting was. We had no idea what time it was, where it was, who was in attendance. So we did not attend that meeting. We did have somebody ready to go to it, but because we never received an invite, we didn't know where to go. So there was nowhere to go. So nobody attended that meeting because of that. It wasn't that we received an invite and we just didn't show up. So I just want to address that. But going back to the meeting yesterday, maybe I'll let you speak to that since you were there.
Sure. This is Deacon Joe Grody again. The letter that they sent us basically for 6 different points that they wanted us to address last night, and we addressed all of them. First of all, number 1, they said there's no site survey, only an agreement to perform a survey. And they admitted on their own that what they meant as a survey was actually what Ben was just showing with Eric earlier. We took it as meaning they wanted a survey of the property because we had to consolidate the property. So we went ahead and spent $3,000 for a survey that really they didn't want. They wanted what Ben is showing on the screen right now, which they had all along, but they just had questions on measurements and things like that. And then number two, the dimensional, the description again is what you're seeing on the screen right now. And they said that they thought the height was going to be in excess of 20 feet. We reassured them that was not true as well, and told them the same heights that Nicole just shared. And then the no description of the required fence, we brought information on that to them last night and showed them. And I said if they wanted to see it physically, they could go to St. Cecilia because we had the same fence there. We talked about the impervious or pervious surface, which it is pervious. And I don't want to bore you again with what we just read about how good this surface is. And then lastly, no description of hours of permitted use. And as I stated earlier, we had said from the beginning that would be from dawn to dusk, and that we would have signage accordingly, and that it would be available for use for the entire neighborhood, not just for the school's needs.
And I'll go back. Sorry.
Oh, go ahead, Ms. Barley.
I'll just go back and say that this information, even in May, was provided to them, and then again at the end of June, but it was sent to the same two people at the council, and I believe that they just shared that with the entire council yesterday. So I think that you saw a timestamp of how they received information yesterday at 1:14. It's just simply not the case. I mean, this has been shared with them. You know, they've never reached out to us. Also, if they've had these questions, we were never invited to the July 2nd meeting. I don't think that we were going to be, unless I think it just happened that my email came through at the same time as they were planning that meeting. But I think two gentlemen had the information, and then the rest of the council received it yesterday. So, you know, I don't really know how the council works. So sharing it with the president and then the zoning chair, I thought was the route to go. There was never another indication that said, please share it with, you know, these people. So we thought that that was the right route to go.
Got it. So to be clear, the contentions in the letter received this morning that they did not know the dimensions of the playground equipment or a general description of the fence and playground surface. Your testimony today is that you did in fact share that with them before July 9th.
Correct.
Okay. Yeah. All right. And there's also a contention in here that all of the surrounding residents on Ashmont and Monteith, including those directly across from the subject property, are opposed to your request for the playground and opposed to the playground, at least as of July 2nd. Do you have any response to that?
I feel like that wording is not correct. I mean, the people that attended the meeting were the Malones and the Pankers, and it says all residents of Ashmont and Monteith. Are they stating that those two are residents of Ashmont and Monteith? Because I mean, I don't know how we would ever know those residents. They've never come to the school. They've never said anything to us. So I don't know who all residents of Monteith and Ashmont truly are.
If I could add that the family that lives at 2859 Ashmont, they also rent 2857 Ashmont, had some questions that Mr. Yoder answered for them, and they said they are good with the proposed playground. So to state that all residents are opposed is not true.
Can I ask a question? Were there any of the residents from Ashmont or Monteith at the neighborhood council meeting last night?
No, they were not.
There were no residents there. These were the only two. Only Mrs. Desmond and Mr. Grody were there.
Okay. And then if I can ask a follow-up question on that as well. In their letter, they had requested, as I think they did last night as well, that this application and hearing be continued in progress to where you all could meet further with the community council. What's your take on that as it relates to the construction timing issues, and why?
We'd be happy to meet with them at any time to answer any other questions that they might have. You know, we were kind of shocked that the zoning committee had the questions that they had because of the information we had provided previously. And that was the biggest contention last night, I feel, of the board, was that they were not given information on a timely basis. And I think we could show emails and attachments to emails for the last few months that included all the information that they would have needed last night.
Are you willing to, continue this in progress, or do you need a decision now? That's kind of what I'm getting at, and why.
We would like to have a decision because school starts in August, and Mr. Schmidt is a very busy man and he has to get us on his schedule, and so do the people who do the turf. So I'm not sure why we would have to wait for further zoning approval when all the information that they have is what we presented today. There would be no need for any new information because it's all been presented.
Thank you.
So, okay.
We haven't been, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that is something that is possible to do if you all wanted to try to have further engagement with the Hyde Park Neighborhood Council, and I could reschedule this hearing for really any time that you think would allow you that opportunity. Of course, it is your decision. So if you would like to just move forward today without the Hyde Park Neighborhood Council's support, that's something I'm happy to do. But I do often afford those opportunities when applicants ask for them. So just wanted to throw that out there.
Maybe bluntly in that, the immediate thing you do is say, have you spoken with the neighborhood community council yet? So from the outset, we've attempted to do so. We provided them all the information. We put on our best foot forward, and we think bluntly that we meet the standards. It's not that we're not interested in meeting with them or hearing what more they might have to say. It's that we really need to go. We need to install the playground before the beginning of the school year. So if time wasn't of the essence, we would likely be interested in that. Obviously, sometimes working with neighborhood councils can be like corralling cats, and it's difficult to get everyone to be happy with something. We really think we've done a fantastic job of doing everything that we can do to not only just meet the technical standards necessary to get us our permits, but to put a good amenity in for the community. So we respectfully request we not continue it, but it's not because we don't want to meet with them or any of those things. It's that time's of the essence, and we think this is quite literally the best thing that can be done here.
Okay, no problem. Thank you for that. Okay, yeah. Do you have more witnesses you'd like to call, more people to testify?
Those are the only witnesses. I thought I might just kind of summarize to a bit how we got here and what I think on this. Just obviously you've heard from fact witnesses. I think I can kind of tie it together for you so you can truly understand what's going on and why we're requesting the approval in the way that we are. So long story short, at the beginning of this is obviously I wanted this slide because it shows the church, the school, the property, etc. The school and the church are permitted conditional uses in the involved zoning district. That property, 3433 Monteith, previously was a house. So it's obviously a residential single family use on that property at the time. School owns nearly all of the block, quite literally, other than the one property. They buy and demo the house for future use. I mean, bluntly, I think somewhat, it can happen when you're not a lawyer and you don't understand these things. It's, hey, we own the block, we're a school, we were approved to go here. So they started using the property for what I would call informal play use. They didn't already seek an expansion of a conditional use for the church onto this property. So fast forward, they realized they need to build a ADA compliant playground on the property. And so they raised the funds to do it. They engaged PES to do it. PES in most playgrounds, we actually aren't really here so much other than the variance to discuss specifically permitting of a playground per se. We're talking about the abstract approval of an expansion of a conditional use. The conditional use is the church, the school. That's what's occurring here. But for the need for a variance, we wouldn't need to be talking about the playground itself. It would be, is expansion of the conditional use compliant with the standards for conditional uses in the code? So As it relates to
do
the
you think it
variance,
is?
oh, go
Do you
ahead.
think it is, Mr. Yoder?
Do I think that it complies with the
conditions.
standards contained in the code?
Yeah,
Yeah,
for
I
conditional
mean, I'm happy
uses,
to go.
so is it appropriately located, designed, and configured? And is it designed to minimize adverse effects on surrounding properties?
Yeah, I appreciate the breadcrumbs you're laying down for me here. That's quite literally what we're doing. You know, when they first attempted to install this before realizing that they needed a permit for it, the area on the property that they proposed the playground was much closer to here, honestly. And I think that's some of what originally went, whoa, what's happening here? They get the stop work order, they call me and we talk, and I say, you already, wait, what do you own? And it's like, we own the entire block, literally, minus this. Okay, well then you need to push that playground back as far as humanly possible away from the neighbors on Monteith Avenue to help buffer it away from it. So yes, I do think that it meets the standards in part because the playground itself is located 23.8 feet from Monteith Avenue. In his setback, the reason it's not any closer is there's a code provision that says everything needs to be at least 3 feet back from the parcel line in the rear. So working with working with Matt, we purposefully made it 3.45 feet at that end. We shoved it as far back as we could there. Additionally, as to lighting, we heard there's not going to be any uplighting. There's just going to be 3 small lights in the area that won't shine or point towards any of the residents on Monteith. I don't think you're not going to have any issue with those on Ashmont from a lighting perspective. You know, in the staff report, that page 2, it talks about the existing landscaping that's there. That shows the trees will cover most of what's there. Not cover, I mean, you can still see through there. Not trying to present it like it's not, but that we're purposefully leaving those trees in place and those bushes in place. The fencing, you know, you heard Ms. Byerly testify earlier that while perhaps not an approved way historically by obtaining an expansion of conditional use, they have been nonetheless using what's been the vacant lot, and you have balls that will, you know, squirt out onto Monteith Avenue. Right now, people can access the property through Monteith Avenue. It will be fenced on all 4 sides, such that it will, 1, protect balls, protect children, protect neighbors, all those on the drive there. Number 2, its only access point will be over here. Additionally, you've heard, I'm not sure how quickly or slowly you heard it, but testimony that Mr. Grody provided as it relates to the signage. It will be open to the community when not otherwise an active use by the school. And there will be a sign that says that, but it's only open, and that was one of the neighborhood council's concerns was, what will the hours of operation be? And it's only going to be from dawn till dusk. When it's dark out, it's not to be used, not by us, not by the community, but otherwise it will be open to the community. So yeah, I mean, as to your specific question of, do we think that it's appropriately sited on the property to minimize harm to others, in essence, 1000% yes. That's what relates to then the variance request. Because we're purposefully moving it this far back, we need to get a variance. At first, I worked with Mr. Lascheid, and we discussed, hey, wait a minute, why don't we just consolidate all of this right here into one lot, because then your rear lot setback requirement goes away. We thought that was a good plan. I think Mr. Lascheid thought that was a good plan because we wouldn't need the variance. We didn't want to wait, though, for the whole process for the consolidation to occur, because we need to build it now, just like we don't want to wait to meet with the community council at a later date. We need to build it before the school year. So we agreed that we would submit as proposed, requesting the variance, but in the application, if you read that, we already started, before we even submitted the application, the survey and consolidation process. That takes, I'm told, 2, 3, maybe 4 months to do. So, you know, our point was, as to the variance and some of those standards as well. Number 1, we own all the surrounding properties other than on Monteith. Number 2, it's going to be consolidated such that we won't need that variance. That would go away ultimately. So there's no harm to anyone. So that's what we were doing. And when Mr. Grody says that we, already spent, $3,000 getting a survey, that's what we were attempting to do. We'll dual track it. Let's get the application. Let's apply for a variance that we know once we consolidate, we won't need. So that's what we did when, as I understand, once the city's law department got involved, they looked at that and their interpretation of the code, which I'm not sure I do or don't agree with. Honestly, we don't really care, but is that if we were to consolidate this, I agree with them that the front yard would become this because the code says it's the shortest side of the property. So this would be this property's front, which would make this the rear yard setback. Their position was that, well, the playground would be considered somehow in the front yard. So you would need a different variance for a front yard setback. I don't know if I agree with that one or not, but law had said, as opposed to consolidating, would you be comfortable with simply doing a restrictive covenant that links all of these parcels uses together? And we said, honestly, yeah, I mean, that's even easier. We have no problem with whatever condition it wants to be, so long as we can build that playground on that property. We'll pay for the real estate transaction, however that needs to be done. So I wanted you to hear the testimony from the witnesses so you could get their take on all the different pieces of this puzzle, but I wanted to try to summarize it so you could truly kind of understand what's going on. So yeah, are there further questions you have for us before we get to the public comment in favor of it?
No, I don't have any other questions at this time.
Okay,
how many people do we have for the public comment?
I don't know that part for sure, and I'll go ahead and stop screen sharing now. I don't know that part for sure. That was more organically organized by, I think, Ms. Byerly. So if you can maybe speak to that.
We have two.
Okay, great. I'm going to, just because we're running up against the time constraints here, limit public comment for each person to 2 minutes or less. And then right after that, Mr. Yoder, I'll give you an opportunity to make any closing remarks that you would like, or any of your clients to make closing remarks. And I'll probably limit that to 5 minutes as we wrap up here.
Yeah, all right, that's great. 2 minutes works.
Okay, if you could raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you shall give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? I need you to answer out loud.
I do.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Beth Mock, and I'm the Vice Principal of St. Mary's School, and I'm here today to speak on behalf of our Principal, Jen, and our entire school staff and faculty. I have two colleagues with me here today in the middle of July. Mr. Laudeman, who's our student affairs, in charge of student affairs, and our office manager, Lisa, and our pastor, Father Jamie Weber's here with us today. And we are in full support of this beautiful playground. So grateful to our playground committee that have worked tirelessly and made sure that everything was done correctly. I really need to emphasize the importance of the playground being something that is vital to the development of children, their social, emotional, and physical needs. And we're excited to share this beautiful playground with the community. We're a school of 490 students and approximately 1,000 families in our parish. And we know that the children in our parish families and as well as the surrounding community will greatly benefit. And I'm grateful again, and thanking the committee and for the city officials that are here today to help us bring this project to completion. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Appreciate your time, your testimony here today.
Hi.
Hello, if you could state your name.
Missy Lallathin, Lallathin.
Thank you. And do you swear or affirm that the testimony you shall provide will be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, go ahead.
As I stated, my name is Missy Lallathin. I'm here as a parent and community member in support of the playground project. As Nicole mentioned earlier, I am Ben's mom. My family and I are personally invested in this as two of our sons, Ben and another one, currently attend the school. Our rising first grader, Ben, was born with a neuromuscular disease that has left him permanently physically handicapped and largely restrained to a wheelchair. Having him at a mainstream Catholic school with his brothers is something that has always been very important to my husband and myself. Thanks to the use of the elevator at the school building, making physical accommodations in the classrooms, and the incredible attentiveness of his teachers, he had an amazingly successful kindergarten year. However, the one aspect that he struggled with is outside during recess. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the current playground or recess situation as we've talked about, but it does not lend itself to inclusiveness. The children currently play on an asphalt parking lot and tend to mostly do ball sports, which then leaves Ben sitting in his wheelchair watching his friends play. With the new playground being accessible and inclusive to ADA guidelines, you can only imagine the excitement and anticipation we have for installing something that will finally allow him to play alongside his friends. But this is not just applicable to Ben. With the increasing trajectory of broadening accessibility in our world, and with this playground being for the entire community outside of SMS, this will benefit so many other children. We are truly just as excited for our other sons besides Ben to enjoy this playground. Our children deserve an updated and safe place to spend their time outside.
Okay, thank you very much for your testimony and sharing your story.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Yoder.
Yeah, I'll keep my comments under 5 minutes and very brief. And I mean, bluntly, honestly, this is important. This will do a meaningful good thing for Ben, for the community, for the church, for the parish. They're proud of the application that they've put together. They're proud of the work that they've done. Yes, there was a misstep when they first, frankly, somewhat naively thought they could just install a playground, because in most cases you can. They apologize for that. But once engaged, they went about to systematically put it into place in a way that would honor the community and satisfy all of the standards contained within the zoning code. As to those standards, we purposefully included a very detailed legal argument in our application, because in part it asked for it and in part because we wanted to provide it. We legitimately believe that we satisfy all the standards with or without the neighborhood community council's input for that, for our conditional use permit and variance requests to be granted. So we just ask it to be granted, and hopefully it could be done so expeditiously, the extent you could and wouldn't mind, so that we can go back construction and get this in place before the start of the school year.
Okay, great. I noticed that I did neglect to allow Mr. Lashai from the planning department to provide any testimony, so I am gonna go back. If there's anything you want to respond to that Mr. Lashai says, I'll
He
give you
gets
that
2 minutes
opportunity.
too.
But yeah, seriously, Mr. Lashai, I am gonna limit you to a few minutes here. So anything you'd like to add?
That's fine. I think we've done a pretty thorough review. So conditional use approval is required because a school is a conditional use in a single family district. So expanding it, adding another structure requires conditional use approval. With that, as Mr. Yoder outlined, we looked at the standards for conditional uses. Is it appropriately designed and configured? And have any adverse impacts on surrounding properties been minimized? And my response is yes. The structure has been located in the back, as far away from any neighboring residential properties as possible. So, there shouldn't be as much noise or anything that would impact neighbors, and there's a fence around it. So there should not be any balls or children or anything going into the street. As outlined previously, it's surrounded all by the church and school's property. So it's not like there would be a residential neighbor living right next to it. So it's appropriately designed and configured, and I don't anticipate any negative impacts. There is a variance that's requested for the rear yard setback, because the rear yard setback in the SF6 zoning district is 35 feet. And this playground structure is the only structure on that lot. So it's treated as the principal structure. So it would typically be subject to that. However, the structure has been located closer to the back, which I feel is appropriate and a good decision. It's located closer to the school, further from neighbors. And because of that unusual condition where they own that almost that whole block, it's a reasonable variance. Staff recommends approval of that. Our only recommended condition, which has been discussed, is a covenant linking this property with the other properties. And the reason for that is because it's being reviewed as a school, so it needs to be legally tied to the school use. Otherwise, it would be treated like a public park, which is not really the intent of this application. So we want to link it with the school use to a legal covenant. That's all I have to say. Staff recommends approval. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Lachad. Mr. Yoder, did you want to say anything else in response to that?
No, just again, thanks, Mr. Lachad, for all your hard work on this. We really appreciate it and found it a pleasure to work with you.
Great.
Okay, well, we'll leave it at that then. I want to thank everyone again for your time and your testimony and for being patient as we work through some of those technical issues when we got started. I have not had an opportunity to actually do a site visit or see this property from the ground. I think this is a case where it would be appropriate for me to do that before I make a final decision on the application. And so I understand that you want to get this going as soon as possible to be ready for the school year. And so I will do everything I can to get this to you as quickly as possible. I appreciate all the time, the effort that you all put into this project and understand the gravity of it. So I will do my best to try to get this to you as quickly as possible and put in that same time and effort. As soon as I do finish the decision, I put it in writing, an official written decision that will serve as the approval. Once I finish that, I put it into a PDF and I'll email it to everybody who's in the hearing here. So you all will have it really just moments after it's complete. If it is approved, then Mr. Lachad who will also be on that email, can then approve the zoning permitting on his end, and hopefully you all can take the next step at that point. I think that's it. Are there any questions about the process at all?
No,
Okay.
just thanks again, Mr. Sturkey, for your time and consideration. We appreciate it.
Sure, no problem. If you do have any questions in the meantime, feel free to reach out. I can't take in any more testimony, so if there's something that you wish you would have said and want to tell me, I can't consider anything now that the hearing is closed. I just have to keep it to everything that's in the record and that's been said here today or shared prior to the hearing. If you would also like a status update on the decision, feel free to reach out to me directly. I'm happy to provide that to you and let you know where I'm at. Okay.
Thank you. You contact me, Dick, and Joe Grody when you want to visit. I'd be happy to accommodate you anytime.
I appreciate that. I typically, particularly for outdoor stuff like this, I'll typically just do a drive-by or walk around the property, but I'll let you know if I have any issues. Thank you. Okay, hope you all have a wonderful day, and we are adjourned. Thanks.